You're out drinking and things got out of hand. And do you know the story I'm talking about? It involves a police horse.
To the world, Christopher Plummer and Julie Andrews looked like the perfect romantic pairing. Their scenes in The Sound of Music carried a softness and emotional pull that convinced millions they must have shared a warm connection off-camera. Yet behind that polished illusion was a far more complicated reality. Plummer felt uneasy from the moment he arrived on set. The film's sweetness, the songs, the innocence, and Julie's effortless charm all clashed sharply with his more serious artistic instincts. While Andrews moved through the production with natural grace, Plummer felt increasingly trapped by a tone he found overly sentimental. He admired her professionalism, but her constant positivity only highlighted the parts of the film he struggled to embrace. Viewers saw magic, but Plummer felt himself drifting further away from the world the movie wanted him to live in. That unseen tension shaped the chemistry people still celebrate. Julie Andrews began filming already established, as Hollywood's new symbol of purity and perfection. After winning the Oscar for Mary Poppins, she carried herself with a poise and warmth that instantly elevated any production she worked on. Directors praised her professionalism, co-stars admired her kindness, and the younger cast members adored her as a mentor. She arrived early, stayed focused, and lifted spirits without trying. But for Christopher Plummer, her glow felt overwhelming. He wasn't bothered by her talent, he was bothered by how effortlessly she fit into the film's sweet, optimistic tone. Her presence reminded him that The Sound of Music was designed to be cheerful and sentimental, the exact qualities he disliked. While she thrived in this environment, he felt creatively boxed in. Her enthusiasm, though sincere, highlighted the growing divide between their personalities and artistic approaches, setting the stage for quiet tension. Plummer entered the movie hoping the screenplay might contain complexities he could build upon. Instead, he found a story wrapped in sugar. He famously renamed it The Sound of Mucus, a sarcastic jab that revealed his early frustration. Captain Von Trapp felt stiff, flat, and underdeveloped, far from the layered characters he preferred. He tried adding subtle humor and emotional shading, but each attempt was softened by the film's polished tone. Meanwhile, Julie Andrews embraced the story's innocence, singing with joy, working tirelessly, and treating the film as a gift. For Plummer, her enthusiasm unintentionally highlighted everything he disliked. She fit perfectly. He felt like an outsider, trying to take the role seriously in a world too sweet for his taste. That early disappointment didn't fade. It became a quiet weight that shaped his attitude and deepened the contrast between their working styles. Their personalities could not have been more different. Julie Andrews radiated warmth, greeted each day with optimism, and approached her scenes with sincere joy. She kept morale high, reassured nervous child actors, and filled rehearsals with steady professionalism. The crew loved her gentle energy. Christopher Plummer, however, came from a world rooted in Shakespearean drama and emotional complexity. He valued grit, nuance, and realism. While Julie embraced the film's cheerful spirit, Plummer saw a polished fantasy that clashed with his instincts. He carried a sharper, more sardonic tone, occasionally impatient with material he found too sweet. Their differences didn't create open conflict, but they created a palpable distance. Andrews viewed the film as uplifting and magical. Plummer saw it as overly sentimental and creatively limiting. That contrast, subtle yet constant, shaped every shared scene and slowly built the foundation of their off-screen tension. For Plummer, playing Captain Von Trapp felt like performing inside a cage lined with bright wallpaper. He respected the character's dignified presence, but the script gave him a little internal conflict to explore. The captain existed mostly as a stern figure waiting to be softened by Maria's charm, a transformation Plummer found too simplistic. He later said trying to add depth felt like flogging a dead horse, a blunt admission of how artistically unfulfilled he felt. Meanwhile, Julie Andrews immersed herself in the role with enthusiasm, singing with conviction and embracing every emotional beat. Her dedication unintentionally amplified Plummer's frustration. She fit naturally into the film's sugar-coated tone, while he felt boxed in by it. He didn't resent her talent. He resented being stuck in a role he couldn't elevate. That imbalance deepened the quiet tension shaping their early days on set. Julie Andrews was admired everywhere for her extraordinary kindness. But on the set of The Sound of Music, that same sweetness slowly became a quiet source of irritation for Christopher Plummer. She greeted everyone with a warm smile, remembered every name, and approached each scene with genuine enthusiasm. Her optimism rarely dipped, even during long shooting days or difficult weather. For Plummer, however, her constant positivity felt overwhelming. He later joked it was like being hit over the head with a Valentine's Day card every day, a humorous line that revealed a deeper truth. Her bright spirit intensified the sugary tone he already disliked. Andrews symbolized the wholesome magic of the film, while Plummer longed for grit and realism. He never blamed her personally, but her cheerfulness reminded him constantly of the artistic world he felt trapped inside, deepening the emotional distance between them. While Plummer wrestled with dissatisfaction, Julie Andrews bore immense pressure that wasn't always visible. As the face of the entire production, she carried the expectations of audiences, studios, and critics who saw her as Hollywood's new standard of excellence. Every note she sang had to be perfect, every scene polished, every expression aligned with the film's hopeful tone. She kept spirits high among the child actors, reassured nervous crew members, and acted as an emotional anchor during demanding shoots. Plummer saw only part of this, often interpreting her steadiness as effortless charm. But Andrews was working under incredible weight, balancing fame, responsibility, and a legacy already forming around her. Her ability to stay composed unintentionally intensified Plummer's frustration, because where he felt suffocated by the film's sweetness, Andrews seemed to thrive. Their careers were moving in opposite emotional directions, widening the quiet divide between them. As filming continued, Plummer searched for ways to cope with the sugary world he couldn't connect with. His frustration didn't erupt outwardly, but it simmered beneath every scene he performed. Off-set, he often found relief in Austrian bars, where he could distance himself from the unrelenting cheerfulness surrounding the production. By his own admission, alcohol became his escape, a way to dull the clash between his artistic instincts and the movie's tone. Long days filled with singing children, bright costumes, and emotional warmth only intensified the urge to step away. Plummer wasn't proud of relying on drinking, but he acknowledged it openly later in life. The more he retreated into these quiet escapes, the more distant he felt from the film's message. While Andrews poured more of herself into the production each day, Plummer drifted further from it, creating an emotional divide that shaped their early dynamic. One of the most surprising revelations Plummer shared years later was that he had been drunk during the iconic music festival scene. To audiences, that moment marks the captain's emotional transformation, his proud defiance of the rising Nazi presence, and a heartfelt reunion with his children. But for Plummer, the memory was blurred by the alcohol he used to ease. In his frustration, the irony is striking. A moment millions consider powerful was, for him, a scene he barely remembered filming. Yet, his performance didn't falter. His posture, voice, and presence remained steady, proving his professionalism even under strain. The crew knew he drank, but few understood just how much of the movie he experienced through that haze. This secret emphasized how disconnected he felt from the film's heart. While the world saw courage and triumph, Plummer was quietly battling his own dissatisfaction behind the curtain. During production, Plummer often spent evenings exploring Salzburg's nightlife, sometimes accompanied by Charmian Carr, the two one-year-old actress who played Lysol. Their outings sparked rumors almost immediately, fueled by their age difference and Plummer's reputation as a charismatic, restless leading man. Carr later admitted she had a significant crush on him, calling him perfect and praising his charm, though she insisted nothing romantic ever happened. Still, their time together became part of the film's behind-the-scenes mythology. Plummer enjoyed her company because she offered light-hearted conversation without the pressures of the production. Their bond was innocent, but the whispers it created added another layer to his already complicated experience. While Andrews remained focused and disciplined, Plummer found distraction wherever he could. The contrast between their offset routines highlighted the different emotional worlds they lived in and widened the unseen distance between them. Plummer's reliance on alcohol during filming didn't stay invisible for long. The wardrobe department, responsible for maintaining the crisp uniforms of Captain Von Trapp, quickly noticed a recurring problem. His weight kept fluctuating. Some days his jackets fit perfectly. On others, the seams strained or hung too loosely, forcing last-minute adjustments that frustrated the costume team. Plummer later admitted he found humor in the chaos he caused, but the staff certainly didn't. Their job required precision, and his unpredictable changes made that nearly impossible. While Andrews maintained perfect consistency, Plummer's offset choices created ripple effects through the production. These minor inconveniences might seem trivial, but on a film as meticulously crafted as The Sound of Music, they added pressure to an already demanding schedule. The wardrobe issues became another reminder that Plummer was struggling to stay connected to a project he felt emotionally distant from. One of Plummer's deepest frustrations stemmed from the film's sanitized storytelling. As an actor trained in theatrical realism, he valued honesty and emotional truth, yet The Sound of Music offered an idealized fairy tale instead. He knew the real Von Trapp family history was far more complicated than the script suggested. Their struggles, relationships, and motivations had been softened for mass appeal. For Plummer, this artistic compromise felt like a betrayal of authentic storytelling. He tried finding layers of conflict within the captain, but every attempt clashed with the movie's bright tone. Julie Andrews embraced the fantasy effortlessly, but Plummer couldn't shake the feeling that he was acting inside a carefully polished lie. His discomfort wasn't arrogance. It was the frustration of an artist longing for depth in a world painted with perfect light. That tension only deepened the emotional distance between him and the story unfolding around him. The gap between Hollywood's version of events and the Von Trapp's true history added fuel to Plummer's dissatisfaction. In reality, Maria didn't fall into a sweeping love story with Georg von Trapp. She admitted in her memoir that she married him out of duty and affection for the children, with romantic love growing only later. The film reversed their personalities entirely. The real Georg was gentle and affectionate, not the rigid military figure seen on screen, and Maria was far more assertive than her cinematic counterpart. Even the children's personalities and birth order were rearranged for dramatic effect. The famous escape over the Alps? Completely invented. The family quietly boarded a train. Plummer wasn't demanding total accuracy, but the level of fabrication bothered him deeply. He felt trapped inside a fairy tale that ignored the genuine complexities of the people it portrayed, intensifying his struggle with the material. For Plummer, The Sound of Music represented the kind of overly sentimental storytelling he had spent years trying to avoid. The cheerful songs, the innocent charm, and the carefully crafted optimism clashed with his desire for richer emotional narratives. Julie Andrews embodied everything the film celebrated: purity, hope, warmth, and while he respected her talent, she reminded him constantly of the artistic world he didn't belong to. He later confessed that her sweetness felt almost suffocating, not because she behaved poorly, but because she reflected exactly what he disliked about the project. Every smiling scene and every melodic moment reinforced his feeling that he was stuck inside a story too clean for his tastes. Plummer longed for depth, shadows, and internal conflicts, yet the film demanded simplicity and light. That creative mismatch, quietly simmering beneath the surface, shaped every aspect of his early experience on set. Despite their contrasting energies, the tension between Plummer and Andrews unexpectedly strengthened the film. Their real-life differences translated into the perfect on-screen dynamic. Andrews' warmth softened Plummer's stern demeanor, while Plummer's grounded seriousness kept the story from floating into pure sweetness. Audiences believed their chemistry because it carried a subtle push and pull rooted in genuine emotion. Andrews later said his presence added glue to the film, preventing it from collapsing under its own charm. Plummer, meanwhile, provided the authority and restraint the story needed, even if he disliked the material. Their clashing personalities created balance. Andrews brought light, Plummer brought weight. Together, they formed a dynamic that felt authentic, even though it emerged from private tension rather than personal closeness. Ironically, the very friction Plummer resented helped shape one of Hollywood's most iconic cinematic pairings, and neither of them realized it at the time. Although Plummer felt frustrated by the film's sweetness, his grounded performance gave the story a balance it desperately needed. Without his stern presence, the film risked becoming overly sentimental, but his seriousness created contrast that made Julie Andrews' warmth shine even brighter. The tension between their personalities, her lightness against his restraint, formed an authentic rhythm on screen. Plummer's controlled expressions, slow, softening, and reserved tone perfectly matched Andrews' lively optimism, creating chemistry that felt genuine rather than manufactured. Ironically, the very artistic clash he disliked became one of the film's greatest strengths. Andrews later said Plummer kept the story from becoming too sticky, acknowledging how essential he was to its emotional weight. While Plummer struggled behind the scenes, his discomfort translated into an honest performance that made the captain's transformation believable. The film succeeded partly because their differences complemented each other in ways neither expected. When The Sound of Music premiered, it became a cultural phenomenon almost instantly. Families flocked to theaters, the soundtrack dominated charts, and critics praised its uplifting message. Within a year, it climbed to the top of the worldwide box office, eventually surpassing Gone with the Wind as the highest-grossing film of its time. For Julie Andrews, the success strengthened her status as Hollywood's reigning star. But for Plummer, it created a burden he never anticipated. Instead of celebrating the accomplishment, he felt trapped by the shadow of Captain Von Trapp, a role he respected professionally but disliked artistically. No matter how many serious films or stage productions he completed afterward, journalists continued asking about the musical he struggled to enjoy. It frustrated him that his most famous performance came from a project he viewed as overly sentimental. The film launched careers, but for Plummer, it created a legacy he wrestled with for decades. As the movie's success grew, the contrast between Andrews' joy and Plummer's discomfort only widened. Andrews embraced the film's legacy wholeheartedly, attending promotional events, celebrating with fans, and speaking proudly about the experience. Her image matched the movie's spirit perfectly, making her the natural face of its worldwide fame. Meanwhile, Plummer watched the spotlight follow, her everywhere, reinforcing the divide he had felt since filming began. It wasn't jealousy he admired her talent, but he felt increasingly disconnected from the project that defined both of their careers. While Andrews thrived in roles filled with charm and musical brilliance, Plummer pursued darker, more dramatic material. The public adored her sweetness, while he longed for artistic recognition beyond a character he struggled to respect. Their careers were moving in different emotional directions, and the growing cultural attachment to the film only deepened his frustration. Even decades after filming wrapped, Plummer couldn't escape questions about The Sound of Music. Whether he appeared on talk shows, attended premieres, or accepted awards, reporters inevitably brought up the role he found the least fulfilling. He grew tired of being asked about the captain's stern demeanor or his favorite scenes, especially when he had a vast body of work he considered far more meaningful. He joked that the movie haunted him, following him from interview to interview like a shadow he couldn't outrun. Meanwhile, Andrews continued answering questions with grace, reinforcing her role as the film's cherished ambassador. For Plummer, this contrast felt like another reminder of the emotional gap between them. He didn't dislike the cast or the memories. He disliked being defined by a film he didn't feel proud of artistically. The world saw a classic, but Plummer saw a weight he carried for years. Despite Plummer's well-known frustration, Julie Andrews consistently spoke of him with warmth and respect. In interviews, she described him as the glue that kept the story grounded, praising his ability to add depth and seriousness to a film filled with sweetness. While Plummer sometimes criticized the movie's tone, Andrews defended his performance, emphasizing how essential he was to the emotional integrity of the story. She understood his artistic struggle more than people realized and never took his comments personally. Her steady support became one of the few gentle threads connecting them during their early years of tension. Andrews recognized that Plummer's discomfort came not from dislike of his co-stars, but from his desire for richer material. Her empathy and professionalism created a foundation of quiet respect, even when their personalities clashed. Without her unwavering kindness, their relationship may never have evolved beyond polite distance. As the years passed, Christopher Plummer's sharp criticism of The Sound of Music gradually softened. Age gave him perspective, and the frustrations that once felt suffocating began to lose their intensity. He still found the film overly sentimental, but he no longer spoke about it with the same bitterness. Instead, he acknowledged that while the role hadn't challenged him artistically, the movie had touched millions of people in a way few films ever could. He admitted that his earlier reactions stemmed partly from immaturity and partly from the strict standards he held himself to as a dramatic actor. Looking back, he recognized the dedication of the cast and crew, including Julie Andrews, whose positivity he had once found overwhelming. With time, he learned to appreciate the film's cultural impact, even if it didn't align with his personal taste. The hard edges of his memory softened, making room for reflection. Despite their early tension, something unexpected happened as the decades unfolded. Plummer and Andrews grew genuinely fond of one another. The more they appeared together at interviews, reunions, and anniversary specials, the more comfortable they became. Andrews's unwavering kindness slowly chipped away at the emotional distance Plummer once maintained, and he began to see her warmth not as a burden, but as one of her greatest strengths. He realized she had always treated him with respect, even at times when he struggled to hide his irritation. Their shared history, one of the world's most beloved films, created a bond neither could replicate elsewhere. With time, their interactions became filled with laughter, inside jokes, and mutual admiration. The coldness that once defined their dynamic transformed into something sincere, proving that even complicated beginnings can grow into meaningful connections when understanding replaces resentment. As the film continued to enchant new generations, Plummer and Andrews found themselves returning to the story again and again. They shared stages at special events, reunited with former cast members, and reflected on the unusual journey that had tied them together. Over time, they developed a rhythm Plummer's sharp wit, balanced by Andrews' gentle charm. Fans loved watching them tease each other playfully, revealing a friendship built on years of shared experiences. They reminisced about filming in Salzburg, the long rehearsals, the unpredictable weather, and the moments that tested their patience. Andrews often spoke with gratitude, while Plummer added humor that softened his old critiques. Their different perspectives blended into a mutual appreciation for the strange magic of their shared past. What began as professional tension slowly evolved into a deep, enduring connection. They were no longer two mismatched co-stars. They were partners in a piece of cinematic history. When Christopher Plummer passed away on the 5th of February 2021, the news sent a wave of sadness through fans worldwide. Julie Andrews released a statement that revealed just how close they had become. She described him as a cherished friend and praised his brilliance, humor, and generosity. Her words carried a weight that only decades of shared history could create. For Andrews, his death wasn't just the loss of a co-star, it was the loss of someone who had walked beside her through one of the most defining moments of her career. She reflected on the laughter, the challenges, and the unlikely friendship that had blossomed long after the cameras stopped rolling. Fans who remembered Plummer's early criticisms were moved by the tenderness in her message. It was a reminder that their relationship, once strained, had grown into something enduring, heartfelt, and deeply human. Today, the story of Christopher Plummer and Julie Andrews offers a rare glimpse into the complexities behind Hollywood's most beloved classics. On screen, they created a timeless romance that continues to enchant millions. Off-screen, their journey was far more layered, marked by tension, misunderstanding, growth, and eventually, a lasting friendship. Their dynamic reminds us that chemistry isn't always born from perfect harmony. Sometimes it emerges from difference, contrast, and the unexpected ways two people influence each other. Plummer and Andrews began their partnership as emotional opposites, yet they ended as close companions who deeply respected one another. Their story invites viewers to look beyond the polished illusion and consider the human relationships behind the art. So now, knowing what happened behind the scenes, how do you see The Sound of Music? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from Hollywood's hidden side.